Hello, everyone, and welcome to EVTV Ireland. My name is Guillaume. So I'm pretty sure one day you wished you had a bigger battery, especially if you're driving an early EV with a limited range. Extending the life of your EV by upgrading a battery pack is part of a sustainable behavior that many EV drivers are looking into. So today we will be talking to Eamon and Barry McMahon of Range Therapy, who offer battery extension kits for electric vehicles, thereby extending their range. So, hello, Eamon. Hello, Barry. Welcome.
Hi there.
Hello, Guillaume. Great to be here.
First, Eamon, maybe please tell us a bit about yourself, your EV journey, and maybe how you met Barry.
Yeah, look at it. Thanks for having me here, Guillaume. So, I'm an engineer by profession, a computer engineer, and about 15 years ago, it became clear to me that electrics were coming. I didn't think they'd be coming as slowly, and so I got an electric motorbike, and I got a Vectrix VX1, which had a nickel metal hydride battery, the Duracell Bunny battery. So I had that for several years, and then the battery died, and I needed to replace it. And that's when I came across Barry. That Barry also had a Vectrix, and he also had battery problems. And so together we worked on putting new batteries into the older motorbikes, and we found the best batteries available were batteries from Nissan Leafs. So we now have two Vectrix full of Nissan Leaf second life batteries, and are fantastic.
That's great. And so, Barry, how about you? Tell us a bit maybe about your journey, your electric journey.
Actually, I suppose mine relates back to when I moved to Kildare out of Dublin. My wife and I always wanted to move out of the city, and when we did that first, I realized that the traffic at the time was horrendous. This is like 20 years back, and I decided at the ripe old age of whatever it was, 35 or 36, to start riding motorcycles. But then when I started riding the motorcycles, in fact, I generally rode maxi scooters. I started to say, well, hey, why aren't they got electric scooters? And I started to scour the internet for that. And this was a couple of years before Vectrix arrived. But eventually I saw Vectrix came on the market, and I was actually one of the first people into the shop in Dublin to look into buying one of the Vectrix bikes. I always remember that the thing that stands out in my mind is getting back on my 600cc maxi scooter after being on the Vectrix. And I'll never forget, it felt like getting on a tractor. And I really wanted that feeling again, and I was really driven to get there. So I immediately bought the Vectrix, and I suppose Eamon's given you a lot of the history of then how we got connected. But also my background is in physics and electronics, more around medical devices, but I have a lot of experience and knowledge around batteries, particularly lithium batteries. So I was able to bring that experience to the table. So you could say for me, I see it as a kind of a hobby turned into, well, some sort of a social business. It's probably not my main business, but a social business, if you like.
Eamon, maybe in a couple of sentences, what exactly Range Therapy does?
There are many blocks to people adopting electric cars, that they're afraid, and range is one of those issues. So Range Therapy wants to tackle that issue, to say range is not actually a problem, it's just a requirement for a bigger battery. So if you know what range you need, you can get a battery to meet that range. And what we discovered early on is that the early EVs, which were made in the UK, the Nissan Leafs, had poor batteries. And so that's an important target for us. And well, we can change the range, we can increase it. And we partnered with McMahon in the Netherlands, who build kits to extend the range of Nissan Leafs. And that's what we install in cars.
And as you can see, Barry is currently unplugging his Leaf because, as we say, ABC, always be charging. And Barry is currently charging the Leaf. Next question is actually for you, Barry. What kind of sizes and type of batteries that you have in extension kits, etc.?
Yeah, I suppose we look at, could probably consider three options. One is where you can swap the battery. At the moment, we're working with Nissans and Nissan Leafs. And as you know, historically, they probably have the most cars out in the marketplace. So you can either swap your original battery. So, for example, if you have an old 24 kilowatt battery in a Gen 1 or a Gen 2, and you've kind of, as says, finished with that, or it's worn out, you can either get another 24 kilowatt or a 30 kilowatt or a 40 kilowatt or a 62 kilowatt battery. So what people probably don't realize is you can actually take the batteries that go into the new Nissans and put them into the old Leafs. There is an issue with getting batteries, but we can get them and we can put them in. So that's one part of the business. The second part of the business is where we put extender batteries into the cars. So at the moment, the offering we have is, I think it's 18 kilowatt and 11 kilowatt extender batteries. Now we're actually moving on to a new version of the battery. We're just waiting a new product to come in. And I think they're 22, Eamon, and what's the other one?
Yep, so I can chip in there, Guillaume. So there are 3 new batteries available. So this is a big announcement for EVTV. It's a breaking story. There's three new batteries will be available from June. There'll be a 12 kilowatt, a 22 kilowatt, and a 33 kilowatt with active cooling. So those will significantly increase the range of the cars. And the new batteries are half the volume of the old batteries. So you get a much smaller pack, you get more kick from your battery. So those batteries, for instance, the 12 kilowatt battery will give you an extra 75 kilometer range. The 22 kilowatt will give you 140 extra kilometer range. And then the big lad, the 33, will give you 210 extra kilometers on your Nissan Leaf.
Very good. So, and then if it's half the size, that means that a 22 is basically half of an existing Leaf 24 kilowatt hour.
That's right. In size.
So to that,
we put it in the boot of the car on the floor, so it'll be about 12 centimeters off the floor. And the Leafs have big boots, so you actually won't notice that much missing from the Leaf.
That's great. So my next question for you, Eamon, I'm going to ask you about the cost of this, but I know it's very difficult because there's many different options. But do you have any ballpark for anyone who's interested in this?
Yeah. No, it's expensive. We warn people. Batteries are expensive, but these are very high quality batteries that will last a long time. So it's an investment in a battery pack that can be used again and again, even after your Leaf. You can use it in another Leaf. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, we think it will be about €4,500 to get the small pack, and that includes installation and warranty. And then the 22 kilowatt pack will probably cost about €8,500, 8,500. And again, that will include an upgrade to your suspension to keep the car balanced. And then the 33 kilowatt is going to be quite expensive. We think it'll be about €12,500.
Okay, that's good. But it's good, I suppose, existing owners, they know what sort of range they actually need. So because you don't want to have a huge battery that you don't use anyway. So I think it's great to offer the different sizes because it's also about resources, and there's no need to get more resources, more battery resources if you don't actually not gonna use it on a regular basis. So yeah, that's great to have the option. Barry, maybe can you describe the installation process? How long does the battery is expected to last, of course, and what kind of warranty as well that comes with it?
Yeah, so the installation takes about a full day. At the moment, we probably leave about a day and a half because we like to do checks on the car when we're finished with it. We don't like to rush the job as well. For example, we'll often bring it to a fast charger, make sure all that's working on it. So even when you're putting in the extender battery, the original battery has to be taken out of the car. So there's a little bit of work in that. So the battery has to be dropped out, and then we have got to make in some high tension cable connections into the original car, break into the circuit. What we really liked about the McMahon option is what we call it a light touch conversion. So it's a minimum amount of interference with the car electronics. And therefore you can be rest assured that the car will work as it did before, and that so nobody's gone in and reprogrammed the whole car and given you the wrong thing. So you should actually have exactly the same performance as you had before. All you have is access to more battery, so you have more energy available to you, and that's what we would hope for, and that's what we want for that. And as anyone knows who has a Nissan as a performance, the car perform actually quite well, and you know, for most average users, they've got all the acceleration and comfort that you would need, you know.
The BMS, so the battery management system, how is it a difference? You have to reprogram it, of course, so the machine knows that there's a bigger capacity. But can you tell us if it works like just a bigger battery, or does it know that there is two separate packs, or how does it work? How does the car thinks of this battery extension?
Yes, so McMahon have designed a piece of electronics to interrupt the communications in the car and just fool it and tell it it's got a bigger battery. So the car just thinks, say if you put in a 22 kilowatt battery, the car thinks it's got a 44 kilowatt battery, and therefore it uses the 44 when you're driving, and the gauges read accordingly, and then when you're charging, it thinks it's charging a 44 kilowatt battery. So it's, from the car's perspective, it doesn't actually know that it's got two separate batteries. And then from an electronics point of view, there are two separate BMSs. So the main battery has its own BMS, and the extension battery has its own built-in BMS. But both are monitored together, and the signals are put into the car's electronics. So if there's an error in either battery, it will show up in the car as an error.
What about the fast charge? Is there a difference between before and after? Is the charging curve similar? How can owners see a difference? I don't know.
So, Barry, do you want to say you're charging?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's very similar. It doesn't charge any faster or any slower. Obviously, it takes a little bit longer because you're putting more energy into the car, but it's not noticeable. In fact, if anything, I'm actually surprised that it doesn't. I thought it would take double the time. It never seems to take double the time. I think you use the car differently when you have more range in it. Because you have more of a comfort in that lower bunch of kilometers you have when you're getting low. So yeah, just in terms of BMS or battery management system as it's known, I think there's a lot of myths about that. I really think if people are talking about things like swapping cells in cars and stuff like that, that's not really the approach. Very rarely will you find that one or two cells will have gone off unless the battery is really, really old. The battery management systems work very well. Their job is to make sure the battery, all the cells are charging and discharging at the same rate or in balance with each other is a better way of describing it. So I've worked on BMS originals from Vectrix bikes, remanufactured for Vectrix bikes. I've built my own BMS for home solar systems. So I have a lot of experience with BMS and management systems. And our extension batteries come with their own battery management system, but that talks to the car, and the car is also then aware of the main battery BMS. And if anything goes wrong, you'll get an alert in the car. But we really don't expect things to go wrong with with a single cell in a battery. Particularly the original cells in the car are not going to go wrong. So if someone is telling you that they're going to swap out a few of your cells and make your battery a lot healthier, really that's not really, that people shouldn't go down that road. That really doesn't mean anything. It's not going to improve your battery in any significant way, and actually could do more harm, because if a battery has a completely different profile than the other ones, it's much harder to keep it managed with those batteries. So the idea of the cells being all together, manufactured together, used and aged together is very clever and very used. I have also had experience of batteries exploding when I was messing with Vectrix bikes years ago, and that's not very nice. I certainly wouldn't like it to happen in my nice car.
Yeah, that's for sure. So how does the thermal management system work? So I'm just curious about it. It's a liquid battery.
The current system, that there is no thermal management in the extension pack, as there isn't thermal management in the main pack. And for the most part, because there's only 2 layers of cells in the extension, it actually doesn't need cooling, because it will air cooled naturally. So that's in the new pack. Then there is an option, especially for the big pack, if you want to put in liquid cooling. So there are a cooling loop within the battery, and you connect that up and have a pump that will pump and cool liquid through the pack.
But there is temperature monitoring as part of the BMS, so it will alarm if there's an issue with temperature.
Yeah, like there is on the Leaf currently. But there's a gauge, and you have if you have if you're in summer and you have usually the more dense one, the 40 and the 62, they do drop the charging if it's too hot. So
they're not such a big problem in Ireland, where we don't get extremes of cold or heat, as you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
Listen, you mentioned earlier, so if you upgrade the 11 kilowatt hour, we just have this pack in the boot. But from 22, you change bits of the suspension, right?
That's right. Just the springs.
Okay. Is there actually, regarding this in general, any implication regarding insurance or registration, because there are some modifications?
That's a very important question, Guillaume. And one is to say, legally, this is not a modification of your car. Adding a battery extension is not a legal modification, but it is an upgrade. And there are rules around upgrades. And there's the rules are actually the UNECE 100 regulation. And this complies fully with that. So we have to make sure. And what's happy for us is that our partners in the Netherlands are under a stricter governance code around cars. So they go through the registration process to ensure that this particular improvement of your car fits within guidelines. And then it's the people who purchased that packs do test it out with their insurance companies. And the uniform experiences, the insurance companies say, no, this is not a modification, and we accept the engineering report that says the new improvement is within the UNECE 100 regulation, which is adopted by the EU.
Good, that's great news. That's so. Any plans for extension kits for other EVs? Do you have already a demand for other vehicles? Because obviously the Leaf is the obvious one because it's the oldest and there's so many on the Irish roads. But any other projects around this?
So there's keen interest. There's a lot of Zoe owners who would like a little bit extra range, and there are plug-in hybrids, and we've had requests from people with Mitsubishi Outlanders that said, well, if I could double or triple my range, it would be more an EV and less a petrol car. So we're working with Muxan on that, and we hope, let's say, within a year to have options for other cars. But the priority at the moment is the new extension packs, just to make sure they pass through all the regulatory requirements, and we begin to install them in June.
Yes. And have you seen a change of price when you buy them? Because I mean, packs are supposed to become cheaper and cheaper. Is it something that you can see already, or not yet?
They seem to be the same price per kilowatt. That's what we're finding at the minute.
I think you can. The packs are getting more dense, so you get that's what we're starting to see. You'll get more power, you'll get more energy out of the same price. So the tendency seems to be to give you a bigger pack for the same or a smaller size, but we're aiming to give you a bigger, the same as cars are. You can see that the cars are trying to give you bigger packs all the time, and we're hoping that there'll be enough of a track on the sources of these batteries, particularly in countries like India and China, that you're really often getting the same batteries that you're from the same sources that the car manufacturers are getting them, and at that level and quality and standard, you know.
Yeah, is the battery module of the Nissan Leaf used in other EVs from factory install, or is it just the Leaf, those modules?
I'm not aware. I have only seen Hyundai packs, and in some ways they look very similar, but I've never opened one.
I think the only ones that were actually the same was the Fluence. The battery pack and the Fluence was the same.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
That wasn't that successful. And so I wouldn't be surprised that Zoe has something similar. Now, what's interesting is that the new Nissan Ariya coming out this year, which is a crossover SUV, is using a totally different battery technology from a different company. Yes. So the original batteries were made by NEC, and they went to the market very early, and their chemistry wasn't as good as the more contemporary chemistries and battery packs today.
Yeah. So, sorry, just one point on that as well, because when you said about using Nissan Leaf batteries, I have third use Nissan Leaf batteries at my home. I'm using Gen 1 Nissan Leaf batteries in a Powerwall. They were in my Vectrix bike, and before that, they were in a Nissan Leaf. And the thing is about a Powerwall is I have a little bit of space. I don't care that they're not that small. I don't care that they're not that efficient. They're not drawing that kind of power your car draws when you're accelerating down the road at whatever speed. But they're absolutely perfect for storing solar power at my house. So I love that. And that's something Eamon and I in our social enterprise are very into, sustaining, getting the maximum use and life out of these batteries.
Yes, indeed. Okay, we're getting towards the end of the interview. Can people follow you on social media, internet, or somewhere, or website? You have a website, right?
Yeah, so the website is rangetherapy.org. So that's it. And yeah, we keep that up to date. And then we're part of the Irish EV Owners Association. So we engage when questions come up in the Facebook group, insofar as that's helpful.
Of course. Last question, guys, for any of you. Do you have any dream project or conversion project or something like this that you want to do with batteries? If you could do it, what would you do?
One is what Barry was talking about, is building the ecosystem where you were thinking of the car and your house and solar power, and so that you have your own energy. That's what we want to build. But we also have a new project, okay, again, which we're not going to tell you very much today, Guillaume, about building the current products are made by McMahon in the Netherlands, and we deploy them in Ireland. But we're building our own products in Ireland to help deal with this range issue. And so we were looking at portable, smaller packs that you can rent to give yourself maybe an extra range for the weekend.
Okay, that's a great idea. Well, thanks a lot. I think people would be really hooked up to this information, and they'll be looking forward to another interview whenever you have more to tell us about it.
Sure.
Yes.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys, for this. I hope everyone liked this little interview, and then we will see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye-bye.